Are we in search of miracles? May we look no further than the next sunrise. Look no further than into our neighbor's eyes. For miracles abound if we pay attention, some only seemingly too small to mention. May we then this hour pay attention to music shared, to words spoken, to one another, above all to one another, as we welcome this season of ordinary miracles of kindness and love.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
This morning, I will light the flame of our chalice. Chalice representing nurturing and nourishing community. The flame representing all that our faith represents. Representing truth, freedom, representing love above all lighting our way. In this spirit, I light our flaming chalice. As you know, we approach the 8th night of Hanukkah, and so Janice McPhillips has agreed to be the lighter of our menorah, saying the blessings and lighting for us. Thank you, Janice.
Good morning. I'm going to say the blessing in Hebrew and in English. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav b'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to kindle the Hanukkah light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Sha'asa nisim la'avotenu bayamin hahem bazman hazeh. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has performed miracles for our forefathers in those days at this time.
Thank you, Janice. We're going to sing, at least the choir and I and Christopher will sing. If you want to sing quietly along, though this is a hard one to sing quietly, but do, for safety's sake, light one candle, number 221 in our gray hardback hymn books. Good morning. Welcome to everyone here. Welcome to everyone on the screen. Whether you're an old timer or a newcomer, welcome. If you are new among us, I invite you to begin to get to know us as we would like to get to know you. And you can begin to get to know us by chatting with one another during fellowship hour outside or in the fellowship hall. I'll say more about that in a moment. Or on the Zoom chat, which will be left on. And you can get to know us by going to our website, oldshipchurch.org. As I say, we also look forward to getting to know you. So after the service, everyone who's here in the building is welcome to a time of fellowship outside, as we've been doing, but also for the first time to walk across the street, enter by the side entrance into the fellowship hall, where I am told there are bargains awaiting. Still amazing. Some beautiful things were not sold at a very successful and wonderful Merry Market yesterday. And then anyone who has the time and the energy can help clean up afterwards. That would also be appreciated. When you leave the meeting house, I remind you each week, if you're at all uncertain about steps, we have the beautiful garden ramp out this side. Please feel free to use it. A couple of announcements. Vespers services continue right here every Wednesday evening at 6:30. Also on Zoom. The information is all on our website and in the weekly update. And Saturday, gingerbread house making at 4:30 in the fellowship hall. Details again in the weekly update. Sadly, no chili. We're not going to be eating and drinking this year, maybe next year again. But gingerbread house making with lots of help for that. Once again this week, Daveline Cooper has a word to say about our Guest at Your Table program. I will be a little bit of show and tell, holding up my Guest at Your Table box. Daveline, what can you share this morning?
Thank you, Ken. Good morning. Today, I want to introduce you to our second guest in the UUSC Guest at Your Table program. Myra De Gaypal fled her home in Burma in 1995 because of the violence and human rights violations experienced by ethnic minorities in Burma. A member of the Karen ethnic group, Myra witnessed military brutality towards her community. She reports when she was in school, they had trenches around the school so that when they heard the sound of the fighter jets, they could literally just jump straight into the trenches. She saw a lot of people get killed, including some of her classmates. Then settling in the United States, Myra sees it as her responsibility to advocate for the people of Burma who continue to face abuses. The brave, resilient people of Burma, she says, they refuse to be silent. But it's my responsibility to amplify their voices because I have the platform, I have the voice, and I am safe here to do so. She does this through her work directing the U.S. campaign for Burma, which is a UUSC partner, and it is dedicated to promoting interethnic solidarity, raising awareness about crimes committed by the Burmese military, and bringing an end to the military regime. Myra's work has been even more important this year following the coup, where the Burmese military seized total power, detained human rights advocates, barred elected leaders from taking office, and have murdered more than 800 people and injured thousands more. Myra hopes for a Burma where everyone is embraced and welcomed no matter their race, their ethnicity, or their religious differences. And UUSC is proud to partner with her work and those of other human rights organizations. For us here at Old Ship, this is one of the ways in which we put our UU values out into the world. Donations to UUSC may be made through the drop-down menu on our website. Click the outreach offering, or you can use your Breeze account site at Old Ship, or you can directly make your donation at uusc.org. Just be sure, as I say every week, to indicate that you are a member of the Old Ship congregation, because we want everyone to know how much we support UUSC. And I thank you for your support of this important work. Thank you.
And thank you, Daveline, for your continued leadership in this work. So much appreciated. We come to our time of sharing joys, sorrows, and concerns. This morning, I light the first candle for one of our dear members who died late this week, Jim Robinson. Jim and Betsy, who died some 15 years ago, have been members since the 1970s. Jim supporting, and one of those supporters we don't always see through his work on the building committee, and just as a lovely guy. We miss him already. I light the candle for Jim, for all those who love and care about Jim. Service in celebration of his life will be this Friday, December 10th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon right here, and also on Zoom. Everyone is, of course, invited and welcome. I light the first candle for Jim Robinson. We hold him always in our hearts. Donna Ekstrand's daughter has asked that I light a candle for Donna, her daughter Sarah. Donna is at South Shore Hospital with A viral infection, apparently not COVID, she says, and she's improving. She asked for no phone calls right now, but we can certainly all hold Donna and her family in our hearts, knowing that she's not sitting in her usual pew right here. We feel her presence. We extend our presence to her. I will light the second candle for Donna and then invite your sharing. As I invite those here in the meeting house to share a joy, sorrow, or concern, I invite those who are on Zoom to enter any joys or sorrows, concerns into chat, and we'll share those just in a few moments. Anyone here? Yes, Corey.
Candle of gratitude, usually the age range is difficult for every event and activity, but there were all the people that helped gave some, but there were some people yesterday that gave all and have been giving all for weeks, and I just want to personally thank them. I'm not one of them. I also want to candle of concern and gratitude for a dear friend of mine for over 30 years. She's a mother, she just lost her to COVID, and I just learned about yesterday, so it's still happening, you know. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Corey. First, this candle for all those who helped yesterday at Merry Market, and in particular for those who gave their all for weeks and more, as you say. And this candle for your friend, a friend and mother who lost her life to COVID, and we extend our sympathy to you, Corey, her friend, and all of her family. Others here in the room. Yes. Stephanie? Yeah.
And she and her husband just found out that they both had COVID. Over extremely. So he was a candle of hope for them and empathy for everybody else who's going through terrible and unpredictable issues.
Thank you. A candle of concern for your friend, 7 months pregnant. She and her husband have been diagnosed with COVID. Oh, we send her our prayers, then send them our prayers and hopes for their own health and certainly for the health of the child in the next couple of months and beyond. Thank you. Dave will oh yes, go ahead.
Morning, Ken.
I can't see who it is with the mask.
Monica.
Monica, okay, with your mask. Thank you.
Sorrow and joy. Sorrow that Beth Lilly has left and won't be a member of the choir, but the joy is that I won her print at tonight. So I will have it hanging in my house with a lovely reminder.
There we are. The sorrow, we all miss Beth, and you miss her as a fellow choir member, having moved away. But your joy at having won, having bid high for her print at the auction. Thank you, Monica. Daveline, is there anyone who's entered a joy or a sorrow concern on chat?
Yes, Ken, a candle of celebration for Susanna Thomas, who celebrated a birthday this week.
Burns for Susanna. Happy birthday, Susanna. Anyone else, Daveline?
No, that's all, Ken.
Thank you. Will these candles burn as well for any joys, sorrows, or concerns felt in our hearts, in our lives, though they've remained unspoken in words among us? Thank you. In case folks are wondering, young people this week are started in the parish house. That's why we didn't sing them out. They weren't here. They're watching a holiday film and enjoying Pajama Day. Traditionally follows Merry Market. It used to be Pajama and Pancake Day, and hopefully next year will be that. Then we join our hearts and minds in a time of meditation, prayer, and silence. As we settle wherever we are in this house or in our own home, may the peace of this ancient house enter our bodies, our souls. May the love of the generations who have sanctified this place with their love enter our hearts. May the light of all these candles this morning rekindle or brighten the light in our lives as we sit, just sit during this shared quiet time. Perhaps prayers arising in our minds or from our hearts, prayers from and to the God of many names, God of our hearts. Prayers of those who are ill, some who've been named this morning, have the comfort they need, the healing they need. Prayers for those who grieve, some of whom have been named this morning, have the comfort and healing they need. Prayers for the wider communities in which we live, that we will all learn simply to get along a little better. God help us, or a lot better. Prayers that nations at war within themselves or among will find their way to peace. All with prayers, I say this almost every week, every day in my own heart. Prayers for the well-being of all beings. All, of course, all. This season, always, that all may be ever blessed. Let us enter the silence, shared time, contemplative, peaceful time. We enter the silence. this morning will be shared by Elizabeth Torrey. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Our reading this morning is by the Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Lynn Ungar, entitled Hanukkah. Come down from the hills, declare the fighting done. Be bold, declare victory, even when the temple is wrecked and the tyrants have not retreated, only coiled back like a snake prepared to strike again. Come down. Try to remember a life gentled by daily acts of domestic faith. The pot set to boil, the bed made up, the table set in calm expectation that when the sun sets, we will still be here. Come down and settle, unlearn the years of hiding. Light fires that can be seen for miles, that dance and spark and warm the frozen mallow. Set lamps in the window, declare your presence, your loyalties, the truths for which you do not expect to have to die. It would take a miracle, you say, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear. I say, you are the stuff from which such miracles are made. You are the stuff from which such miracles are made. Here ends the reading.
Thank you, Elizabeth, so much. Come to our time of offering. We've heard Daveline remind us how we may make our outreach offering at any time during this month to the Guest at Your Table program. This Sunday, we also have the opportunity, as we do most every Sunday, to give to our plate collection, our plate offering, supporting all of the ministries of our congregation. We can do that here in the meeting house by leaving our offering in the basket at either exit as we leave, or also online with using that same pull-down donate menu. With many thanks in advance for your generosity. Our morning offering will be given and received as we appreciate and enjoy the music. Hanukkah Menorah has, as you know, 9 candles, as we can see here, one for each night of the 8-day festival, along with the 9th candle, which in Hebrew, as many of you may know, is called a Shamash, or the helper candle. The Shamash is lit first every night, and then it's used to light all the other candles. 1 on the first night, 2 on the second, 3 on the third, and so on, until, as tonight, all 8 candles will be lit, all shining for all to see. And each night the candles are allowed to burn completely down, as these just about have. It takes, well, within an hour or less for that to happen, until a final little puff of smoke, perhaps some of you have been seeing it, just a little puff as each candle goes out. It's beautiful to be present, as we have been this morning, for the candles' slow burning. To be present. So that in exchange for a little patience, we get a lot of peace. It's quite lovely. You don't have to be Jewish to light a menorah or any candle, and just be present with it as it burns. But back to the Shamash, the 9th candle. It's one thing for a candle to be a helper. We've seen it. What about us? Does the Shamash offer an example for us? What sort of example? In a short piece on the web by a writer I've not heard of, but a lovely little piece, Samantha Barnett, she noted that the word Hanukkah, well, translated most directly as dedication, as in the rededication of the temple, also shares a root with the Hebrew word shinuk, which means education. She went on to reflect on how each of several teachers of hers over the years, as she was growing up, served as a shamash for her in the role of educator. She wrote, "Good teachers inspire us to grow by expecting the best from us. They make us better. They give us the spark that enables us to shine." And then she shared a story about a history teacher she'd had, I suppose in middle school, I don't know, who had invited her to take part in a poster contest. It was meant to celebrate the right of free speech. So she made her poster. She'd never been in a contest before. Well, she came in second place. She'd never won a prize before. But he or she doesn't say, lit this spark. Then she wrote about her music teacher in high school. And for her, the teaching, the helping from this teacher was not so much about music. That was the context. But it was about human relationships, about people, about how being a good person, she wrote, doesn't mean necessarily being nice all the time. It means having others' best interest in mind, she wrote, and nurturing their growth. Having others' best interest in mind and nurturing their growth. Just what it means to be a shamash, a human shamash, whether a teacher, a coach, a friend, or a teammate. Think of the category of assists, say in basketball or hockey. Someone scores the goal or makes the basket, but the guy or gal who feeds the puck or passes the ball, that's just as important. They are enabling their teammates to shine with their assist. They're being a kind of shamash on the court or on the hockey rink or wherever. Well, as I started to muse about those who have been helpers, shamash, 9th candles, to me, the list got pretty long pretty quickly, as I expect it would for you. My parents, first of all, who never failed to support my interest. I know that's not true of all parents. I mourn for that. But I was fortunate. They supported all my interests. In fact, when I was 16, I had interests I hadn't even known about. They gave me a banjo. I hadn't asked for a banjo. Somehow I had the idea that I might like the banjo. They were right. Then a few more years later, supporting my choice of attending Haverford College, I've talked a lot about Haverford over the years. It shaped my life, indeed my ministry here in many ways. I've talked last spring especially about Professor Gangadine, but Paul Desjardins, another one of my professors who died many, many years ago, he was a scholar of Plato and Aristotle and the rest, but he had a way in the classroom of drawing us out. Ideas we didn't, or thoughts we hadn't realized we had. He would tease out through probing questions and so on. Very much like Socrates, after whom I guess he modeled himself a bit. And Socrates described himself as a midwife of the soul. Midwife of the soul. It's a lot like the Shamash, after all, lighting the candle for someone else. And then my professors at Starr King School for the Ministry, whose calling was to help us, each one of us, bring forth our gifts, to light the spark of our gifts, our unique ways of shining whatever form of ministry we might eventually pursue. For example, Ron Cook, in our preaching class, my first year there, I didn't know a whole lot about preaching. And I preached, I guess, a sermon that I was making every effort to put everything I knew up until that point in my life into the sermon. And it was probably too long, and it was probably more like an essay than a sermon. And he said afterwards, I mean, he was kind. He named some of the things that worked. And then he wondered, what if you could preach with a little more of the spirit with which you played the banjo? So I've tried over the years, with mixed success, no doubt. But again, he was drawing something out in me that I hadn't even thought about or realized I might have. I could go on about those who've been a helper, a shamash to me. You've maybe been making already your own lists, and you surely can. And it's valuable. It goes back to Thanksgiving and the power of giving thanks to those who've helped us over the years, lit a spark for us. But I need also to say a few words. It might be harder for us to think of times when, we've been the shamash. We're maybe a little shy about that. But I think it's important to remind us that not only have we had and hopefully still have those in our lives who light sparks for us, who help us one way or another, who are shamash, but that we also can and have been shamash for others. And not necessarily in huge ways either. It doesn't mean we have to be an expert about something. Samantha Barnett, in that little essay, quotes a Jewish sage and scholar of the last century, Lubavitcher Rebbe, who said that if all we know is one letter of the alphabet, Aleph, that's all we know, we should teach it to others. So I do have no doubt that once you start thinking about it, you'll think of many ways in which you've been a shamash to others, helped someone shine, likely in ways more substantial than teaching a single letter of the alphabet, though if you've got a child or grandchild, that can be huge to teach that one letter. Years ago, I was part of what I've come to think of, as I thought about it this week, a group shamash, one holiday season. This goes back to my years. Susan and I were both teaching at a school called the Spear Educational Center. The students there, I guess I've talked about it at one time or another, the students there came with a variety of diagnoses, from learning disabled to retarded on their charts, a word gratefully we no longer use, to autistic, a wide variety of kids. Well, after a couple of years, I was a music teacher. After a couple of years of leading in individual classrooms and sometimes one-on-one leading singing, playing a tune on the xylophone or square dancing, whatever we could do, it occurred to me that maybe we could pull off a Christmas program with the whole school. Some sort. Invite the parents. Find ways for each child to participate. Well, I couldn't do that on my own. With lots of help from other teachers. As a group, shamash, as I said. Some of the kids could sing Christmas songs, jingle bells, whatever. Others could play a tune on the xylophone or drum or shake a maraca. But everybody, every last one of them, was given a part to play, something to do. Well, the big day came, and the auditorium was actually a little cafeteria, but it was filled. It was our auditorium for the day, filled with parents and other family members and friends. I expect some, maybe many, in tears. Perhaps never having been able to imagine that their special, precious child, with whatever labels the wider world had given them, could be in a program like this, just like so-called normal kids. Well, we all had so much fun that year, we did it again the year after. At the end of which, that second time, one of the kids, Charlie, came up to me and said, "Well, we did it again, Mr. Brown." Man, I have never forgotten that. Yes, indeed, all the other teachers, including my Susan, and I had served as Shamash to those kids, enabling them, not us, them to shine in ways they perhaps never had. Certainly not in a public setting like that, probably. But the fact is, we don't need to look to dramatic moments in which we have been or can be a Shamash to others. We know this. Or that someone else has been for us. It doesn't have to be dramatic or big, as the Lubavitcher Rebbe said. Almost every day we have opportunities to help someone shine. The everyday miracle that was named in the poem that Elizabeth read. It's certainly true at Old Ship. It might sort of be a defining characteristic of religious or spiritual community. And we can put it this way, that we are each sometimes one of the 8 candles in a group, choir maybe, or a committee or a team, like a Merry Market team pulling it off. And sometimes we are the 9th candle, like the choir leader, our music director, or the chair of a committee, or the folks who led the Merry Market efforts, helping others to shine. It is a beautiful thing, is it not? You can say amen if you want it. It's community. It's love. It's a beautiful thing. But whether here at Old Ship or in our families or among circles of friends or with colleagues at work, we can each be the 9th candle. We have been, and we always can be a Shamash for others, even as we're grateful for those who have been the same for us. So one more thought about miracles. As you know, the 8 nights of Hanukkah are meant to recall and do recall what was thought to be the miracle. At the end, after the Maccabees had won back their religious freedom after the years of oppression, not being allowed to carry on their practice of faith, they'd won the war. They rededicated the temple. They had enough oil, sacred oil, to last for 1 night, but the festival of rededication was meant to last 8 days. And the miracle supposedly is that the 1 cruise of oil lasted the 8 days. Maybe so. Miracle. Or as some commentators have put it, the real miracle may have been that just a small group of rebels had beaten what was at the time one of the superpowers. Perhaps. But I'm certain of this. If we don't think much of miracles which contradict the laws of physics, we can surely affirm that the most important miracles for most of us, most of the time, are indeed daily. You know this. I know it. And they're not really miracles at all in the usual sense of the word. Just this, that each day, each one of us can play a transformative role in the life of another, helping them to shine. Sometimes as simple as a word of support. You can do this, or you did it. Or a literal helping hand. I don't know how you think of it, but I think we live in the lap of mystery. Life is just mysterious. I don't know what it's all about. Maybe glimmers. I say words about it, but I really don't know what this wondrous universe is all about. I don't. Can't put words to it anyway. But you and I know that whatever's going on here, life is sometimes wonderful and beautiful, and life is sometimes really hard. But we can make life easier for the one who's having a hard time. We can and we do, with the everyday miracle of care and kindness, using our light to kindle or to brighten the light of our neighbor. May it always be so. May we never forget this. And if we do, may someone have the wisdom to remind us. May it ever be so. We extinguish these flames lit with love and care. Flames are beautiful, but we cannot extinguish the love and care that we carry in our hearts. The flames are simply beautiful reminders of what we carry with us always. When we extinguish this, the flame of our chalice of faith, it too, though beautiful, is a reminder of what we carry with us always and cannot be extinguished, our faith. Faith in freedom, in truth, in love. Our closing hymn, Vine and Fig Tree, it's number 399 in your hymn book. It's around, it's simple, and we can quietly join the choir as they sing. Forth with peace in our hearts, determined, dedicated to giving each person we encounter our love, our care, our kindness. May we be lights shining for others as best we can. So may it be. Blessed be. Amen.